Hello, and I want to welcome you again to the Shareholders podcast. Thank you for investing, and I'm glad to be here, and I have an amazing guest for you guys. I just want to thank you all again. I always want to do this. I may get done with it after a while, but you can't never thank people enough. Thank you so much for your support. Appreciate it. I mean, I've been hearing amazing feedback from this show, and just to think that this show wasn't even going to be my primary show, but it's really been doing. I'm just blessed that you're being a blessing from it, and the guests that we've had on. I mean, God has just been really lining things up for me, so I'm really excited for that. My guest today, again, Sade. I will always be grateful because
Love you, Sade.
she's given me so many good guests. And make sure you check out her episode. Of course, it was awesome when she came on. But this with me today is Miss Ashley Burney. How are you doing?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming on.
Yes.
Now, of course, again, when you guys probably know by now, when I say Sade, you know I was at the Stage of Health Summit. And the thing is, when Ashley spoke, it was really just powerful and amazing. The thing was, though, she had to leave early. And so I said, man, I ain't going to be able to do my networking. I was like, how I'm going to find her again and all that. But found her on social media, and she was really so nice and accommodating to come on and speak today. And we're going to get into it, but her testimony is unbelievable. So first off, I just want to, let's get into it. Let's talk about that. So can you tell us your story? And basically what I'm getting at is you are really a survivor and a walking miracle, if you will. Can you just give us a little background?
You know, it's an honor to be here, and I don't take each day for granted. Living to my fullest potential is truly my goal each and every day. Yeah. I had a health scare 2 years ago. I was having migraines every day, and it just got debilitating. It was taking away from who I know God made me to be. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, doing the advocating for yourself, putting everything else aside when you are busy every day, I had to make those trips to the doctor and just kind of get to my diagnosis. So I actually was born with a neurological condition that was affecting my brainstem. And so having to have scans and our doctors, our medical groups to really, you know, put your care in their hands. But when you like to know everything and you can't have your answers on your time, right. It was a stretch of my faith, having found out that my migraines were being caused from literally my brainstem being bent in half. So it was in half, and pretty much you're born with too much brain and not enough space.
Okay, wow.
So, you know, I had to turn that into a joke. You know, I said, look, okay, I have a big brain, but I don't need it protruding in areas that it don't need to go. So I, went on to see a neurologist and finally had the next steps, which was to get brain surgery. And so at 32 years old, I thought to myself, I'm not ready to die. Yeah. So knowing that I have more life to live, and I have 2 children and my family, my husband, I was just like, I just need you, God, to show me answers. Yeah. And you know, when He provides answers in His time, that is what is where you have your faith to lean on. And so had the first brain surgery, and, you know, it's like signing your life away when you go in. And it was really crazy because I thought everything would go fine. And, you know, you do the whole history of looking up your doctor and making sure that, you know, they haven't killed nobody. So I'm thinking to myself, I said, I need to do my homework. You know, I just need to make sure that everything's in place. And so a week after being in ICU, going home for a day, I started to leak brain fluid out of my 9-inch incision. And so you don't want to leak anything clear, because that's, you know, and the good thing is I learned so much about body chemistry because it actually reproduces itself. But I just was like, oh my God, I'm now leaking the clear. So how can I know, you know, got to go back in. So I was told news that completely crushed me in a sense where I had to go through that process all over again, to be having the surgery, for them to go in, to undo everything, and the leak was further higher up in my head. And so, I got to a point in my faith where I said, and my mom being a preacher's kid, I grew up in the church. So church was all I knew.
Yeah.
And so when we went through trials and tribulations, it was, you may not see it, but you're never, out of God's sight.
Yeah.
And so having to go through that second surgery again, it just repositioned me for what God was birthing and what he was birthing out of literally having me on my back, where all I could do was look up, was, I have something special for you. So I went through the surgeries, and thank God I haven't had a migraine since the day before my first surgery. And things are, neurologically, I do have the condition, which is called Chiari malformation. So that's the condition that I have. And surgery does help with, lessening symptoms. It is a condition that you have, though. So is
that not incurable? Is this
it's not incurable. It's treatable. So with the surgery and really taking care of yourself in a way that I didn't before. I was always on the go. As my mom would call me, a busybody. I would always be in things. And so I finally had to look at the important things in life that I had to hold closer. And so going through that process, it really has taught me so much about myself that I didn't know before.
That is, you sounded like from the first surgery going into it, you were pretty optimistic. Like,
I was.
We're going to get this good, but I don't want to keep dwelling on it. But just the point of finding out you had to go through it again, and that has to be discouraging. I mean, even for an upbeat person, and
absolutely. And it's also having my faith and understanding that going to these doctors, they're doing what they know to do.
Yeah.
They're not the healer of anything, and we see that in medicine. People go on different trials and different things like that, and so with my situation, I had to really cling. Going in, I actually, was home thinking nothing would happen. My kids are going to school like a normal morning. But then my afternoon was shifted when I'm back in the OR. And then my son's at school. My husband's picking him up, and he's being told again that mommy's back. It was something that it shook us literally to our core, because we didn't know when we would get our answers. We knew we had to come closer as a family. And my squad, I call them, I have a lot of acquaintances, but I have my squad. I have those that pray for me.
Yeah.
And I was lifted up in prayer, and God just saw me through.
Man, that is, and people, we could say cut and stop right there. You know what I mean? Because that is enough just for, a lot of people, even post-op, would still be discouraged. Like, man, why did I have to go through this, God? But you, of course, have turn that into a major triumph as well. So let's get into now what you're doing currently and some of the amazing things that are happening. So you are the CEO or owner of Heart to Heart LLC. So can you explain what that is and what that does?
Yeah. So Heart to Heart is a media and events platform that aims to empower, motivate, and uplift women. Yeah. And so one thing that I did is kind of like my vow in living, or given a second chance to live again, was to really be my best. And so tapping into the inner strengths, skills, qualities that I love about myself. Yeah. One of the things that I work with women every day is it's okay to talk about those, because oftentimes we don't want to be seen as boastful, or we don't want to be seen as big-headed, or whatever that is. But as a linkage between women, it's okay. And so that's one of the things that I work every day with women to do. But our platform is we have, I also do a lot of motivational speaking in the communities and travel a lot. And so with this platform, we have events. And so our last event, which was last September, it was called Your Bold is Beautiful. We sold out. We had about 114 women that packed the house. And we had panelists from every career path that you can think of, from lawyer, doctor, women in media, women in law. It was really encompassing to be able to speak directly to them
Yeah.
in their voice. And, you would see women in prominent positions or leadership positions, right?
Yeah.
And it's amazing when you can tap into their core. You may see them in a suit, but they can tell you how they got there.
There we go.
Yeah. So it was really interesting for the event, and we're actually having our next event coming up, which is called Boss Up.
Yeah.
And it's going to be on February 23rd at Bottega Exchange here in Las Vegas.
Okay.
And we're just really excited because, again, it just serves the purpose of bringing the women together to really speak to each other in our voice. And so I'm really excited.
So no men allowed.
No, we love our allies. We love. No, you know what? And let me go on record saying I love when men want to tap into that capacity, because in speaking in leadership, we need more women at the table. And so to be able to hear our thoughts, our opinions, our ideas, what we think works, what we don't think works, it's always golden when we can have allies in the building.
I feel like to not get a woman's perspective on something when you're trying to, branch out and do something big or whatever, and to just have men, even being a man, it just seems like you're just cutting yourself so short.
Right.
And I was joking with that when I said it, because again, when I went to the Shades of Health thing, I didn't realize till I pulled up that day that it was kind of women centric. And I said, oh, Lord, I'm up here.
Right.
And then you don't want to look like a creep and all that. And so me and Sharday laughed about that, because the first thing I said when I came in, I was like, hey, is men supposed to be up in here?
Right.
She said, no, it's okay. But I would understand, if it was just for women, because it is a time to kind of just really, like you say things and express just things that women are going through in business. It's still sometimes to me insane how doing the same job, women don't make the same amount of money. Like what kind of...
But I'm really excited for our future and the direction that we're going in, because outside of owning my own business, I have been in the nonprofit industry for about 15 years here in Las Vegas. Okay. And I love nonprofit work because it's very grassroots. And I've been told no so many times, but then building programs that are sustainable and that are impactful, that's where that no flips to yes. Yeah, and so being in a position, I actually work for the Tyler Robinson Foundation. It was started by the band Imagine Dragons, and we help pediatric cancer families. Yeah. So it's very rewarding each day for my journey and my story to unfold in a way where I thought I was living before, which the every day of thinking I've gotten far, right? But it wasn't until my surgery to where God said, I just needed me and you for quite a bit for you to understand that where I'm taking you, you got to get ready for it, because it's going to increase capacities in your life to where you are going to be mind blown by the things that are going to come your way. Wow. And I wasn't ready for that before. Like I had to go through something to know that I am more than worthy and capable to handle, what comes my way. So
you kind of tying into my next thing I wanted to ask you is just the fact that all that you're doing now, has that always been in you, where, like you said, your mother kind of called you a busybody, or did it take going through what you went through to maybe put you to, like, not that you weren't doing anything
Absolutely.
before, but kind of take you to that next level, so to speak?
It did. It did. I think with my testimony and what I've gone through, I had to go through being in the dirt. Yeah. To be able to realize that you can crawl, you can walk, and all having faith. And so I think for me, with everything that I've gone through, it's intensified my motivation. Yeah. There are times where I literally can be talking to myself. And I tell people all the time, it's okay when you talk to yourself, because you know what? Sometimes you are reconfirming or reaffirming, your thought process, and you're speaking affirmation. Yeah. So when I'm talking to myself, and I have a 14 and 6-year-old, and my husband, he laughs all the time about it, but I'll be speaking to myself, but it's those times where I know when something's dropped into my spirit, and when I say it, I'm affirming it. So what happens is I literally have been able to look at affirmations different from what I've gone through to now to it just really being, the stars are the limit. Like people say the sky's like the stars, the heavenly realm. That's that's your limitation,
There we go. That's true. I gotta
like you gotta keep pushing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Stars are the limit.
Stars.
Not the sky. Yep. Come on now. So have you then through your journey and even maybe before and that post-op and things like that, have you had any mentors or anyone that really kind of, man, as I was starting out, this person here was very influential in getting me, because, a lot of people have ideas for business.
Absolutely.
And, I want to do this, I want to do that. But without the right person to guide you, you know what I mean? And we talk about this on every show I do. I want to ask people, who was influential in your rise in the business world, so to speak?
So I have a couple, and I'd like to focus on two. So one being my mother. My mother is literally, I would not be the woman I am today without her teaching and my upbringing to know that you will face a lot of things in life that you won't be able to control. But at the same time, it's really, it's how you look at things. And people, what is very limiting at times is when people go through, they feel as if they're stuck. But then have you also thought too, on the flip side, what if I'm being stretched to be that person that I know that I can be, but am I ready?
Yeah.
So my mother has always taught me, put your best foot forward, do not give up. And I know it sounds so cliche, but when you have to apply it to situations that arise and you think that, oh my gosh, like this is bigger than me. I don't know how I'm going to see through. I don't even know how I'm going to get to the next minute. It literally a mother's prayer. If that sums up,
there we go.
So my mother,
I'm here,
right, we're all here, right? But then my mother, but then also my husband is a great mentor. He is a marketing professional, and he allows me and pushes me to think bigger than even what I could be thinking. So if I have a vision, it's really asking me those questions that are thought-provoking to say, you may have thought about this, but maybe doing it this way, or just allowing me to be myself and not be in a judgmental type of arena, because sometimes you may share your vision with those. And that's why, never let your left foot know what your right hand's doing. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, it's like you have to be, you think it's in alignment, but at the same time, it's be careful with what you share and who you share it with, because some are just not ready for your greatness. No. And one thing that's really stuck out with me, and I've just been so shook this past week with the passing of Kobe Bryant and his daughter and the other victims involved, and just knowing the professions that they were in, but then also the Mamba mentality. I have really been focusing on that in this last just week of knowing he was so much more. And I would love people to tap in to his business sense and to his impact and the levels and the legacy that he's leaving behind, because it's one of those things where your mentality, he was even told that he wouldn't be, who he is. I'm not going to say who he was, because his legacy will forever live. But it's just crazy when you look at his story, and it's just like, you were told no, but you invest. You took care of your family. You left them in a position to where they can then fend for themselves. It's that we work really hard on. To not look in just today, but further. And
it's amazing, because this is the first show that I've taped since, the passing of Kobe and his daughter and the 7 others. And you hear so much aside from basketball now and things that he was in. And I knew some of the things. I always kind of kept up with him and things like that. But I heard someone say, he said that, what Kobe would do? He would call, J.K. Rowling, who wrote all the Harry Potter books, and just talk and like, okay, what'd you do? And then he would write a book. He would, then he would call another person. And they said, once Kobe called you, he's staying on you. And what about this and this and this and this? And he would feel like he could glean enough that then he could do what it's kind of the audacity of hope.
That's it.
You know what I mean? And and he would just, and I was so impressed just hearing about that. Like, wow, this guy really, there's always a cliche, well, he's just rich and he can, do whatever. But the work ethic and just constantly just probing and seeing and let me learn this, let me learn that.
Mm-hmm.
Just hearing those stories about him now, it really endears me to him even more. And it's a life lesson.
It is. And I think it's very important that along your life journey to figure out your why. I think a lot of people they're in so much. But one thing that Kobe mentioned was really where you are winning is when you love what you do. Mm-hmm. There are so many people who wake up and they have this same routine of get up, going to work, being there 9 to 5, come home, then you're putting on another hat. But do you love what you do? Because if you don't love what you do, you really are, in my opinion, my strong opinion, I really feel that you're wasting days and you're wasting the gift that God has bestowed upon your life that means you haven't tapped into it yet.
Right.
Which means that in your journey, it's not that you have to know day one, but as you mature and as you get older, that's when you're like, okay, well, am I just waking up and doing this? Am I living someone else's dream, or am I actually tapping into what I
for their mean, how many times you see, the start of the week, that Monday meme of, I don't want to go to work. And like, if you were doing what you loved, we wouldn't have that many memes like that. But it's, I'm talking with Ashley Burney. This is the Mighty Sharp Network, but this is the Shareholders podcast. Monty Mott here. This is an amazing conversation we're already having. But I want to also hit on something as well that I really love when I have women on and women in business. Can you speak to the impact you are having, have had, and want to have more so on younger women?
Absolutely.
Where, there's girls who are growing up that there's just so much craziness out there.
Absolutely.
And there's so many distractions and boys and things like that. And I love to have women on that speak to an empowering spirit for women, that you don't have to be just somebody's girlfriend or just hope to be just somebody's wife or just somebody's mother, but do what you love to do and expand on that.
Absolutely. This is one of my special areas with young ladies because, when I was coming up, I had my family, my mother, my father. My father actually had a drug addiction, drug and alcohol addiction when I was coming up. And so he was absent, in my teenage, young adult life. But thank God he's been clean. Oh gosh, over 20 years now. And it's amazing when, how I've not allowed what I have faced to depict who I am. And so I know a lot of the conversations I have with young women, young ladies, teens, is that they are so hurt by what society has already said that they are. Yeah. And so when you're trying to push through to become who is inside of you, you can allow at times what society says of, you'll never be in a leadership role. You'll never have a voice. Right. You will never be of impact in your community. You will never. But at the same time is what I like to focus on is not allowing, your current, because it could be a current situation. Also, what you've inherited. You've come into a family of those who have not pushed themselves to be the very best they can. They didn't pursue education. They had these minimal thinking. Yeah. But I think with young ladies, it is not allowing the situations that they've encountered to depict who they are and where they're going. Because that's the important part, is not allowing what society says, but then also experience to shape who I am. Yeah. Because if I allowed what I faced pretty much the majority of my life to define who I am, I would not be doing any of what I'm doing now.
There you go.
So it's really getting in, it's planting your own nuggets and planting your own nuggets to say, if I know I can think it. Yeah. How about I take a step of faith or a leap of faith and just try? You will surprise yourself.
That is, and that's really kind of that is the genesis I feel we have to start in young people now, because like you say, you can be just born into something. You didn't ask for that. You didn't ask to be in the situation you are. And unfortunately, so many people can let that define them when really it can just be a chance encounter with someone, just somebody speaking something in you that will plant a seed. And man, and you know, some people, like you say, you came out of something and kind of just pulled yourself, but some people need that extra. That's why I never, when I hear of summits and I hear of things, you know, the next one you're going to do, I'm like, yes, because that person might walk into that and not know what they get into, but they might just hear something that in any other environment they wouldn't. You know, and it sparks something. And
I believe too, in the events that I have, is setting the tone that there is no lack. It's really creating and putting out that energy that you want. So at my events that I've had so far, I have been so moved by the testimony that has come forward. It's crazy because they're speaking not of me. They're speaking of the what I put out into the universe to get back. And so when they can speak of, you know, walking into the building and really not knowing how to start up that conversation, or not really want to speak to someone just because they don't really know what they're going to say or how, or if they're going to be judged, but then when they let their guard down, it's amazing. But then that guard goes up. If you think about experiences in life, bad relationships, you know, things that have happened to them that they didn't have control of. We're speaking to like literally the root of these issues that they've dealt with for a lifetime.
That is so true, man. We're gonna start landing a plane, but and it's funny. We kind of already talked about family, but your husband was at the summit.
He was,
and I watched him.
Oh, okay.
Was he taping? I think he was.
He was.
And you know, I'm not all in y'all business, but I remember you kind of shouted him out, and he was taping you, and he seemed so just excited for you, and I loved that dynamic that I saw with you two. And I didn't even know what he did or anything like that, but you know, we kind of touched on family as well, but it just really did my heart good to see, you know, as you were going forth on the panel, he was just really supportive.
He really is. And, you know, we've been together since I was a freshman and he was a senior in high school.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we've seen each other change into these individuals that I'm like, I know I could be tough to handle at times, but love me despite, you know. But he really does, you know, have my back. And it really is important to be in a relationship where it is like that. Because I think a lot of times, you know, especially when pursuing your own dreams, but in a relationship, it can be a journey. And so one of the things that we try to be examples to our children. I have a 14-year-old son and a 6-year-old daughter. And literally my daughter is like a mini me. She watches everything I do. Even when I don't think she is, but when she calls out something, I'm like, were you? Okay, whatever. You know, but then my son, to know how to treat women and to be able to love who they are and love their vision, because, you know, you always hear that a son should marry, you know, or his wife should almost mimic his mom, you know, qualities. And so we try to really be that example for our kids, especially in today's society when, you know, we are looked at different and we can't accomplish what's set out because XYZ said so. It's like, push past that. Let's go. Mamba mentality. Do what you got to do. You know?
That's awesome to hear. So wrapping up, I want to ask you, I like to ask everyone then, you've already had amazing success that we've talked about and even personal as well. But what then from this day forward, going forward, what is your vision of success for your business, for your entrepreneurial spirit that, you know, you want to even go higher in, so to speak?
Absolutely. So I see with the platform with Heart to Heart is being in sold out arenas.
Okay. Yeah,
I've prayed for this and it literally, it's amazing to see it unfold because I'll meet someone and it may be through someone that they know or they're tapped into the vision or they want to sow into the work. And so I've had opportunities to speak on other panels from women who are actually do similar work in the sense where now they took a leap of faith to travel with their platform. And so I do see Heart to Heart growing outside of Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's also an opportunity to really, I pray for God to send me those souls to be able to mentor and to be able to connect with. So I definitely see the platform enlarging, and I'm speaking it because I know it's coming. But I definitely sold out platforms to bring these women together and it actually be where we increase the events that we do. So for example, last year we had our annual event, which was in September. But this year, we're actually having an event each quarter. So
nice. Okay.
We'll be able to, we have of course, the Boss Up event coming up February 23rd, but then we have a health and wellness component and then a social mixer more in the evening, for everyone to come out. And then we have our signature event. So nice. We're headed in that direction. And I just see a lot of I know that there was a reason why I was saved. When I was younger, but then having gone through life's experiences for me to feel like my life was spared because I'm just now starting to touch the surface.
That is awesome. And I love that you have a plan, but you're always thinking bigger than just what the plan is as well. Have you read any good books, anything that you can recommend?
I am finishing because I was so busy when it came out, but Michelle Obama is a woman I adore.
I gotta read that.
And so I am wrapping up her book, Becoming, but I've also met her several times and we actually had talks. And I remember when she came here to Las Vegas, the last time she did, I had shared that it was because of her fight and President Obama's fight for different things like healthcare and healthy living that I was able to share that with her and what I had gone through. And she said, it's reasons like you that we push so hard each and every day. So she's very, very near and dear. Like if ever she's close in the vicinity, I'm there. Every time she's come to Las Vegas, I've actually connected with her. But her book revealed some things, just even internal of her internal push. She's so resilient. Yeah. And so to be but to be a Black woman who has never allowed, and has only thought bigger than herself and to be able to accomplish and achieve and live in that limelight of being a president's wife. I never push politics on anyone. I always focus on character. Is who you are as a person will speak volumes. No political affiliation. If you focus on character and who they are and who they represent, that's your morals. That's your balance. That's your everyday. So she's one that I definitely admire, and her book is amazing.
And I'll just say this right now. Michelle Obama, yes, you're welcome on the Shareholders podcast. I know there's a little trepidation, just hit me up. It's fine. You know what I mean? We'll make time for you and all that. So please, as we wrap up, give your plugs. Let people know where they can find you.
Absolutely. So my website is hearttoheartspeaks.com. I'm also on Instagram at yourboldisbeautiful with an underscore in between each word, and also Successful One. That's my personal page. And I live very transparently. So feel free to follow, comment, and share.
Listen, it is amazing what she's doing. Of course, this is the Shareholders podcast. You see my little cards, and you know where to find us at, of course, Mighty Sharp Show. And this show, plus our music show is there as well, of course. And I'm really so thankful for you taking time to be on and come. I'm so glad you did this. And I really hope, please give us some feedback. I love hearing the feedback. Every show we've done, people have said this, and I'm expecting that for this one as well. Ashley, thank you again.
Yes, absolutely. We'll be back.
All right. You guys stay sharp. All right.
This has been a production of the Mighty Sharp Network. Executive producer is Monty Mont. Watch the corners and always stay sharp.